Today's Daily Dose of Math is a discussion of some of the common fractions that we deal with when we measure with inches and feet. Here I have reproduced part of the ruler because it would be too hard to show the ruler to the camera. I reproduced the part between 4 inches and 5 inches. And you notice when you look at this part of the ruler that you see all of these little lines, and there are quite a few of them. The longer lines represent more commonly used fractions in our measurements. But we want to be exact with our measurements, so we have divided the space between 4 inches and 5 inches, the space between any two consecutive numbers of inches, into 16 equal pieces. So each of these fractions of an inch can be expressed as a fraction with 16 as the denominator, which is what I've written here. But of course, some of those fractions can be reduced, and we should reduce them. We don't commonly talk about 4 and 10/16 inches. We want to refer to the reduced fraction when we can. The way I've chosen to do this, I put all of the odd-numbered numerator fractions on the top. And I'm going to write those measurements over here on the chalkboard, because these fractions can't be reduced any further. To reduce a fraction, the numerator and denominator have to have a common factor. And when the numerator is odd, it's not going to have a common factor with 16. So the first measurement I have, if you measure right to this little line on a ruler, is going to be 4 and 1/16 inches. And I write it as a mixed number. The big number is the 4, and then 1/16, and I use the symbol for inches. The same thing will happen for all of these other ones on the top because I cannot reduce the fraction. So I have 4 and 3/16 inches, and then 4 and 5/16, 4 and 7/16, 4 and 9/16, 4 and 11/16, 4 and 13/16, and finally 4 and 15/16. And it's a good thing that I got to that one because I was running out of room over there. The even numbered numerators, all of those fractions can be reduced. So let's reduce them. What do we do to reduce a fraction like 2/16? We look for the greatest common factor between the numerator and the denominator. And the greatest common factor between 2 and 16 is 2. Then we divide both top and bottom by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. And 16 divided by 2 is 8. So what we have here, this fraction 4 and 2/16, is expressed as 4 and 1/8 inches. 4/16, we do the same thing, except 4 and 16 have a greater common factor than 2. They do have 2 as a common factor, but they also have 4 as a common factor. When I divide the 4 and the 16, each of them by 4, 4 divided by 4 is 1, and 16 divided by 4 is 4. So we have 4 and 1/4 inches. 6 and 16, the common factor is 2 again, so we divide the 6 and the 16 by 2. We have 4 and 3/8 inches. 8/16 has numerator and denominator that have a greatest common factor of 8. 8 divided by 8 is 1, and 16 divided by 8 is 2. So we have 4.5 inches. 10/16, the greatest common factor is 2 for this one. 10 divided by 2 is 5, and 16 divided by 2 is 8. So we have 4 and 5/8 inches. 12 and 16 have 4 as a greatest common factor. 12 divided by 4 is 3, 16 divided by 4 is 4. We have 4 and 3/4 inches. And finally this one, 14 and 16, the greatest common factor is 2. 14 divided by 2 is 7, 16 divided by 2 is 8. We have 4 7/8 inches. These fractions, it might seem like quite a lot of them to get to know, but this happens again and again. We use the same ones over and over again, and we get used to using them, and they become easier to use. Because if I go into the next inch on the ruler between 5 and 6 inches, I end up using all of the same fractions over again. That is today's Daily Dose of Math. Please like, subscribe, and share.